Hello, everyone. Welcome to Leslie Vernick's public page, Enriching Relationships That Matter Most. I'm Coach Leanne, and I am joined today by Coach Susan. Hey, Susan, so good
Hi,
to
how
be
are you?
here.
Yes, I'm glad that we're here together. If you're here with us, just drop us a little note and say hello. We'd love to hear from you.
We would love to know that you are here with us in this space. Susan, we have a big topic today to talk about, don't we?
It is a big topic and one that I don't think is talked about all that much in terms of abuse.
It is not. And so, if you are joining us in this live right now, something about the title captivated your attention and brought you here today. So, the title of this live today Is Indifference in Marriage Abuse? Holy cow. I think even just saying that, Susan, causes a visceral experience
Mhm.
in my body. I can feel the depth of emotion and the depth of importance, I think, of even talking about this. I don't know. That's how I'm doing this morning. How are you?
Yes, I think our bodies are answering the question for us, aren't they? We get a lot
I
of
think so.
feedback in just our response in our bodies. Yes.
And I love that we're starting right there because we are intelligent human beings that God has given us all these senses. And we're going to know because our body is going to talk to us
Mhm.
and let us know when something feels off. And I don't know about you, but I've experienced indifference in my marriage as well as some other relationships. I've been indifferent toward others,
Mhm.
and I've had that indifference directed toward me. What
Mhm.
about you, Susan?
Yes, I've certainly felt that. And so I think putting the word chronic helps us, chronic indifference, because we can all be indifferent at some points in our lives, right? And so to look for that pattern in a relationship where there is consistent indifference, and that can be really damaging. Um, and I'm just kind of wondering what everyone's thoughts are. If we try to define indifference, what does that mean? What does that mean to everyone?
I love that question, Susan. And, I see we have people from Quebec, Canada. Hi, Mary. Hi, Janice, Linda, Angelica. So, ladies who are joining us, we would love to hear what is indifference to you? Let's define it. Let's do that together because this is a big topic. And I know Susan and I were chatting right before we came on live. We don't have all of the answers to indifference. And sometimes we're going to experience indifference in different ways, many, many different ways. So we would love to hear from you. Kim is saying not making the relationship important.
Mhm.
Mary is saying consistent. I just lost it in the feed. I saw consistent, just like you said, Susan, that chronic
Yes.
indifference.
Molly's saying not hearing my heart
Oh,
or not engaging. Yeah, it's going so fast now, I can't even read it.
it is saying you don't matter.
Oh, yeah.
Not listening. I don't care or pay attention. Absolutely. Not engaging and what I'm going through.
Mhm.
Ooh, so there is no empathy glasses
Mhm.
on at all. Beautiful.
Yes, and you were sharing with me, Leanne, how that impacts you and what it means to you, and I loved that you brought in your body and your feelings to that because I think that is so important.
I did. As you are all typing into the feed, we really do cherish your input because
Mhm.
we're in this together and we're navigating life together here in this space. I do want to remind you, this is Leslie's public page. So whatever you type into the feed can be read
Okay.
by anybody who decides to jump on and participate in Facebook. But for me, one thing that I've noticed in my life, Susan, is that when I am indifferent, I am numbing my emotions or they become silent. I
Mhm.
just push them down. And then when I push them down, I am at risk of an unhealthy connection and engagement with those I care the most about. Because guess what? Sometimes my emotions can scare me, Susan. That can that can lead me
I know.
into a dangerous indifference if I'm not careful. What about you?
Yeah, I like some of what I'm reading in the chat, and I agree. Acting like somebody doesn't exist. I mean, so painful, right? Um, Lack of interest or care in somebody and treating them as if they're not even a human being can be so damaging to someone. And when that is chronic over time, it can be devastating, like you're saying. It's affected even how you begin to view yourself and think about yourself.
It does. It can cause us so much insecurity because,
Mhm.
I've often spoken with women over the years that we feel like we've been erased or we're invisible or we are absent when we're right there in the room
Mhm.
and that we're unseen, unheard, and unfelt. And, I just want to say, we can talk a lot about opposites in this world, right? There's hot and there's cold. There is in and there's out. There is light and there is dark. There is on and there is off. And we're really clear about some of those opposites. One opposite that gets a little bit cloudy when it comes to indifference, when it comes to marital relationships, and when it comes to love
Mhm.
is that hate is the opposite of love. We're here to challenge that belief right now,
Mhm.
aren't we, Susan?
Yes, because there's something worse than hate, right? Indifference is worse than hate.
Difference.
It's even more opposite of love than hate is. That causing someone to feel like they don't exist, they're not important, that they're completely erased.
Oh my goodness. And I'll bet folks who are here with us, if those words are meaningful to you and thought provoking, will you let us know
Mhm.
that those are meaningful words? Because those are words that we hear often within our ministry. And I know maybe some of you weren't able to attend Leslie's webinar last week. That is okay. Because we're going to be doing lives multiple days in a row, and we're going to be highlighting some of what Leslie shared, and then we're going to be expounding on it because we have some beautiful opportunities coming up in our community that we want you to know about. And, Susan, when I talked about silencing my emotions, right, and I'm at risk of indifference myself, which is not who I want to be.
Mhm.
I want to learn how to walk in core strength. I want to learn how to shift that around. And I do that best in community with my coaching colleagues here, right? And we also have opportunities coming up in our group coaching programs to walk in core strength. And so if you struggle with feeling erased, if you struggle with indifference, either coming at you or coming out of you, we want to extend an invitation just right now as we're talking about indifference. And you can go to this address right now and find out more about our Walking in Core Strength, right? Because, Susan, in Walking in Core Strength, one thing that we talk about is acknowledging our emotions
Mhm.
and exercising empathy. Because one of my definitions for indifference is a lack of empathy and a lack of caring and compassion.
Mhm.
And we work on that in the group coaching program that they can find out more information at down below.
Yeah. And I love that you said you can become indifference, which we all can because we're human beings, right? And apathy plays a part in our lives at times. But you said, that's not who I want to be, right? So part of what we learn when we're in group coaching and walking in core strength is who do we want to be, right? And starting to develop who our best self is so we can stay in alignment with who we want to be and who God is calling us to be. So I love that
Right.
you brought that out.
Well, and I think sometimes we wanna be indifferent. We wanna stop caring because we've been hurting so badly because of the lack of care and concern for ourselves, and we can get reactive right back. And we're here to be in support to you that is there's another way that you can show up in this world, and
Mhm.
that goes right to our first question. So I just really I wanna dive right into this first question. It
Mhm.
says, "I feel like I need to focus on myself instead of trying to change my husband, but this feels like I'm giving up. How can I move past this mindset?"
Mhm.
Holy cow. What do you think, Susan? We can let's take that first part. "I feel like I need to focus on myself." Bravo.
Yes, that's what the Holy Spirit is telling you. Pay
And
attention
that's
to
that
that.
O step, right? That's that
Yeah.
O step of core, being open to the Holy Spirit and wise others. And so you are here. And what would be different if you allowed yourself to find your brave and work on yourself? I love that. I applaud you, sister, for typing that into the feed. And the other part of your question was instead of trying to change my husband. Susan, if there's one thing that you and I have learned over the years and that we have talked about in our group coaching programs as well as our lives, it's who is the only one we can change?
Mhm.
The
Yeah,
only one I can change is this girl.
right. Yes. We have no power to change anyone else. Yeah. And because, she said, "I feel like I'm giving up," that tells me she's tried a lot of things, right? She's exhausted a lot of effort, a lot of energy trying to change someone who doesn't wanna change, or is not able to change or willing to change.
Right. And you know what else I love about this question is that she has the courage to ask it.
Mhm.
Doesn't want to give up. And so she doesn't want to
Yeah,
get indifferent.
yeah.
So kudos to you, sister, for typing that in. And so you're saying, how can I move past the mindset? You're identifying your mindset. And I'm not hearing your mindset as indifference. I'm hearing your mindset as brave.
Mhm.
And it's not a victim mindset. It's more of an owner's mindset because you're saying, how can I get somebody else to move me past this mindset? You're saying, how can I move past it? And so one way that you can move past that mindset is putting Christ right back in the center of kind of the eye of the storm.
Mhm.
It's all around you. Your husband may be spinning and not growing or changing or wanting to engage in a healthy way, but that doesn't mean that you can't, right? And so when you're in the eye of the storm is when you're calm. And I find that the only time that I'm in the eye of the storm is when I know God's eyes are right on me and my eyes are right on him. And so putting him at the center helps that mindset. What else, Susan, would you add to that?
Well, I think, what would you need is the question you asked, Leanne. I think coming up with some goals of what is it about yourself that you want to focus on? And God can help you shape those goals. What is it that you need? What is it that you're looking to do? Partnering with God and expanding your life in some way and becoming the person that He's called you to be. What does that look like for you? And so when you're giving up an old mindset, we have to define what is the new mindset. So we can't always stop those thoughts from coming into our mind, but we can stop entertaining them so that they don't stay and linger and take up space. So, what would you replace that mindset with? What would you rather be thinking about yourself? And what does it mean to focus on yourself? What are those goals that you want to bring into your new mindset?
I love that, Susan. And in our group coaching program, we talk all about committing to the truth and not pretending anymore. And that's part of walking in core strength as well. And so taking a little bit of an inventory about what's
Mhm.
really going on and speaking out what you're seeing, what you're feeling, what you're hearing, and what you're noticing and getting really clear on your mindset. And then what is it that you want to be different? And so we're here, to help walk you into that. And so knowing what it is that you want and then taking that first step in that direction is a beautiful way to start shifting that mindset. And you're here and you're going to be hearing some beautiful things and connecting with other people who want to shift their mindset too. And so we're excited about that.
Yes. Um, then we have another question. How can I talk to my husband? He expects sex even when I don't want to. He says I owe him since he waited to have sex until marriage. I feel like he doesn't want to really love me, just use me.
I'm so sorry. That is
Mhm,
so hurtful and it is so harmful. And, just like we talked about, um, indifference
mhm,
is the opposite of love, not hate. When you are having a desire to talk with your husband about sexual issues, it's really hard because it's so incredibly intimate. And so I would say to you that it's understandable that you would not want to have sex with him if he is being
mhm,
in a position of treating you like an object and not a woman to be cherished, a human being. If he's not seeing you, hearing you, feeling you, and holding safe space for you on a regular basis, you're not feeling safe to give yourself over intimately to him. And that's so understandable. And there are many women, you are not alone, sister, in
mhm,
that space. And I think it's okay to gather the words together and communicate that. I think it's important.
mhm.
What do you think, Susan?
Yes, absolutely. And this is an example whereas you could become indifferent yourself, right? And just avoidant. And I think if you haven't already, like Leanne is saying, is coming up with those words. How can you say that in a way where you're going to feel um, that you've kept integrity with yourself? How can you say it in a way that's respectful and kind, but also honest, that you don't feel like you are a person to love, but just a body to use? Um, like Leanne said, you're not alone in that. We hear this all the time, and it's so painful to be treated in that way, to not be seen as a person, and your body does not respond uh, to sex in a way that is can be meaningful and authentic when you're feeling like an object.
I just love that you brought that up. Again, it's paying attention to your body.
Mhm,
And we were not created to feel like objects. And your body is giving you some warning signals. And
mhm,
I think, when we can understand that and be able to communicate that in a way that we're not shut down, right? This is where we get to be very um, focused on watching our mindset so we don't go to that indifferent place, but we can be very in touch with our bodies and what it is that we want to communicate. Because I know it's really tempted to disconnect in that time, in that arena. And we talk to women all day long who navigate that.
mhm.
And it's if you don't feel safe sexually, it's gonna be really hard for you to give yourself over to your husband in an honest and authentic way.
Yes.
And what we know about the women in our community is they wanna show up authentic and honest in their relationships, and that privilege has been denied to many
Mhm.
because of indifference.
Yeah. And it can have a huge impact if you quiet that intuition that you're feeling that something is not right here, which I see this all the time, that it becomes a traumatic response in the body, where your body literally starts to close up and shut down with the thoughts of sex because it feels as though it's been traumatized. When someone uses you like an object, and you don't feel loved and comforted and cherished, your body is not going to open up in that way.
Right? And it is traumatic.
Mhm,
And, the Lord wants us to live fully alive. And sometimes, the indifference is in many different areas. It can be physical, it can be sexual indifference, it
mhm.
can be financial
Yeah.
indifference. We just wanna bust that myth that it's, just emotional because it's not. And not I shouldn't even say just because the emotional part is so
Mhm,
damaging and dangerous. Emotional indifference to feel erased, to feel invisible, to feel unheard, unsafe, unheld, and dismissed. It's heartbreaking
Mhm.
in a relationship. And sometimes indifference can show up. We can show up as indifferent, can't we, Susan? And sometimes some indifference can be somewhat protecting for us.
Mm.
Any thoughts on that? Because I know some ladies are probably going, "Well, I'm feeling indifferent. I would really like to erase my husband right now because he's hurting me and I don't like it."
Well, so that makes a lot of sense emotionally, right? That we want to protect ourselves. And I think we have to guard ourselves from becoming reactive and instead taking a pause, noticing what's happening, and choosing a response which may look a little bit similar to indifference, but I would call that word detaching. So making a conscious choice to withdraw some of that emotional energy that's put into a relationship because you're not getting anything back. And so there's a difference between indifference and detachment, and that when you're detaching, it's done with compassion and with love and with empathy, but it's still an emotional withdrawal from the relationship.
Susan, I love that you brought that up. Could you speak just a little bit more about what does healthy detachment look like? Maybe a couple of the characteristics or ways that it shows up.
Mhm. So just going back to the first question that we had,
Mhm.
right? Uh, Trying to change my husband, she said, instead of trying to change my husband, I want to focus on myself. So when you're attached in a unhealthy way in a marriage, a lot of emotional energy goes towards things that you can't change, that you have no control over, like getting someone to do what you want them to do, to be a better human being, to hear you, to see you. And so, what I hear from a lot of women in this community is they work really hard to do just the right thing so it's acknowledged, or say things in just the right way so that it's heard. And that's not usually the problem. It's not usually, sometimes we need to shape the way we say things so that it's more respectful and more kind. But oftentimes, the other person's not hearing because they don't want to hear.
Mm.
And so to remove that energy, that dedication towards something that you can't control would be detaching, to observe it instead of absorbing it.
Oh, that's so good. Observe and not absorb. And, we are not fantasy wives. We are not fantasy women. And, we're going to mess up sometimes. And to have that safe space for us, there's so much power and love surrounding all the decisions that we make. And I think that when we think about that detaching in very healthy ways, we know a lot about dancing, and we know a lot about this one phrase. And this, I've got it right in front of me on my desk right now. Nothing changes if nothing changes. And so sometimes that healthy detachment as opposed to indifference can cause the dance step to change in such a way that it may encourage our significant other to change too. It may not, but we get to do it because we want to grow healthier. And that's what this live is all about. That's what the webinar was all about. And that's what our lives are going to be about, and our group coaching programs. So we have several walking and core strength group coaching programs starting very soon. They're going to be starting up in March. They are groups of 15 women all focused on this, right, Susan? All focused on growing strong on the inside so we can healthy connect. We can get healthy within, keep Christ at the center, not pretend anymore that our relationships or ourselves are any different than what we are. But we're going to have a group of women that we get to walk forward into healthy land with. And it's powerful. The group coaching experience is life changing. And
Yes.
so we just want to invite you, if this is resonating with you and you want to find out more about what Walking in Core Strength, our group coaching program, is all about, please go to that link, leslievernick.com/group coaching, and it will explain it. It's a 3-month program, and we're going to gather together with like minded women who have the same goal.
Mhm.
We don't want to become indifferent. We are loving women, and we want to remain that way. In destructive relationships, it's a challenge. And
Yeah.
we hear you and we see you, and we know that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I noticed in the chat someone was saying that as I've detached, my husband has become more abusive. That is the risk. Sometimes that does happen. And so I want to make sure to say safety is key, right? And so having a safety plan, gathering together, um, some people that you can contact, a place that you can go if things get dangerous. I certainly don't want things to get dangerous for you. So I want to make sure that you have a safety plan. But as you detach, that is an outcome that is possible, right? But also, what happens when you detach is that you can focus on yourself and become healthier. So if that is the expectation, we detach so that we can become healthy individuals. We don't detach so that the other person changes in the way that we want them to change, right? And so at times we do see this, right? That the abuse gets stronger. And so get to safety. That's
Right?
what,
Because it can escalate.
yes.
And that indifference can cause more abuse to get entered in, even maybe from another arena. And so safety is paramount. It's number one with all of us. We want you to be safe. And so I'm going to give you a number to the domestic violence, the national hotline, 1-800-799-SAFE, SAFE. And that they are always there for you. And so, Susan, I'm glad that you brought up a safety plan. As you get stronger, as you change the dance steps, things can escalate. And there is support out there for you. And the DV hotline is there for you 24/7. And they can walk you through a safety plan
Mhm.
when things do escalate. So we just want to acknowledge that, because your safety, emotionally, physically, all of those arenas are incredibly important to us here.
Mhm. Yeah. But like Leanne was saying about the coaching group, it does really help you to slow down. And instead of being reactive, which can cause
Mm,
a difference, you can choose a response. And we help you walk through what does that look like, and to find your strength.
right. And sometimes, we can't see clearly on our own, right, what our next
Mhm.
best steps are. And that's the beautiful opportunity within a group coaching situation, is that we learn from each other, we strengthen each other, we walk with each other, and we gain so much wisdom from each other. There's something very powerful about that collective space. So we just invite you to join us if you feel like group coaching might be your next best opportunity. We have another question here.
Mhm.
I feel like I have silenced my emotions because I had to do that. Here we go, to protect myself, just like we talked
Mhm.
about.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I have built walls up so I don't allow myself to be hurt emotionally anymore. I do believe I am bordering on indifference as a form of self protection. Will this class help me?
Yeah.
Absolutely, sister. That's exactly what this group coaching program is all about. It's helping you to develop your core strength. I'm going to tell you, when we think of core strength, right? We're thinking of the muscles like right inside. And I want to encourage you, sister. Your emotions have muscles too, and so do your thoughts. And just like sometimes we need to go to the gym in order to build up our muscles, or we need to get outdoors in nature and start walking and maybe lifting some weights, group coaching process and program helps you to build those core muscles so you can learn to acknowledge your emotions without turning them off. You
Mhm.
can learn to either turn the dial up on them or down. You can learn to regulate those by committing to the truth, being open, taking responsibility for yourself and not allowing the abuse to continue by exercising empathy and compassion and welcoming that into your sphere, because sometimes it's really hard. And I hear you.
Mhm.
When your emotions can get shut down on your own, it's really easy for empathy, the temperature on your empathy to be turned way down. And when we turn down the temperature on our empathy, indifference can be turned up. It's a danger and it's real. We're
Mm,
all at risk for it, right, Susan?
absolutely. So this is one of the dangers of living with somebody who's indifferent towards you, is that you become reactive in your indifference. And sometimes we start believing what they're selling us, right? That we don't matter. We're not a person to love. We're just an object to use, that, our feelings aren't important, that what we want doesn't matter. And we start believing that and treating ourselves in that same way. So I would just caution you not to silence your emotions. Maybe they're not best expressed in relationship with somebody who doesn't care about you. And so one of the things we can do is find other women to talk to share our emotions with, who can validate us and hear us and respect us and treat us like a person to love.
I love that, Susan. And that's, one of the beauties of group coaching as well. I mean, it's really powerful to be here on these lives and just share this, but there is something really powerful when we are shoulder to shoulder with other women and we're locking arms and we're locking hands and we're walking this together. I mean, and this Walking in Core Strength is a 3-month coaching program. So you have, I mean, imagine, so it's March, April, May, June, being a completely different woman with a new mindset in just 3 months' time because of walking through this program. Because when we disconnect from our emotions, and this is a risk, it can cause us to isolate. All right. It can cause us to isolate and feeling really alone. And the group coaching programs, you're not going to be able to isolate. So it is a strategy to
Yes.
staying connected with your emotions, staying connected with your body, staying accountable, staying connected with others who have that same desire. It's a really beautiful place to be and to grow in our sensitivity. There's so much power in knowing that we're not alone.
Yeah.
There's so much power in knowing that another woman can answer or finish my sentence for me. So, one thing that we found in our community is that there's so much beauty surrounding each woman in this community to desire to grow into the woman that God created them to be. Sometimes the abuse, the indifference, the dangers in their life have shut us down, taken away our voices, caused us to numb in many different areas.
Mhm.
And Walking in Core Strength, this group coaching program, helps to release the freedom within you and helps you to acknowledge the beautiful woman that you are. We want to help you find her. I've often said the very first time I ever did this program, I ran into myself, Susan. I actually found who God created me to be because I had gotten a little bit numb to even who I was. So I'm just throwing that out there.
It's life changing. This is
Life
life
change.
changing work that we're doing here. And so I would just encourage you, sweet sister, don't lose yourself, right? You may choose to detach in this particular toxic relationship, but don't become indifferent to yourself and to your emotions, because you're important, your emotions are important, and there are people who will care about you.
I love that. And, so maybe you're wondering, what's one thing I can do today? What's one thing I can do right now today to reconnect with my emotions? Can I give a hot tip, Susan? Is that okay?
Yeah, I want to hear it.
Well, so one thing you can do is to get out in nature,
Mm.
if at all possible. So whether you're in the Nordic zone up north and it's freezing cold, that's even better yet. Go outside and put your feet in the snow. Get cold for a moment, shock your body, shock your emotions, feel it and acknowledge it. If you are in the West, the Southwest, like I am, get out on a mountain and take your shoes off and go for a walk and feel the ground underneath your feet.
Mhm.
and allow your body to feel again because sometimes we've turned that off and we don't even know. I'm going to ask you, sisters, right now, and you can type into the feed. Can you feel the chair underneath you supporting you right now? Can you feel it? Type into the feed and let us know. I remember at different times in my life where trauma was kind of coming in and taking over, and somebody, my coach asked me that question, Leanne, can you feel the chair underneath your hiney?
Mhm.
I wasn't even aware of it until they said it.
Mhm.
And this is where this group coaching is so powerful too, Susan. It's self-awareness. We're going to help each other grow in our own self-awareness so we can stay in a healthy space.
Mhm. Well, here's a good question.
Mm.
How do I know if we're in a state of being indifferent or in resentment?
Ooh. So, this is where you get to define those 2 words for
Mhm.
yourself, and so this is a little bit of homework, so if you have paper and pen in front of you, and this is for all of us, what does indifferent mean to you, and what does resentment mean to you? What does it look like, taste like, feel like, and sound like? And what are the core motivations of your heart? And the words that you choose, that Bible passage, Susan, that says, "May the meditations of my heart" what is the thoughts in my mind and the meditations of my heart be pleasing to you, God.
Mhm.
We get to look and see what is it that we're trying to accomplish
Yeah.
in our state of mind and our emotions. What else would you add to that?
Yeah, I think for me, coming up with words is sometimes difficult for me. So I go right to the dictionary app and I look up. So if I need to define my emotions, that's sometimes where I start, and it can be really helpful. Um, but either one, if you're indifferent or you're feeling resentment, do you want to stay there? Right. So I think God wouldn't want you to rest in either of those. Right? So bringing whichever feeling it is to the Lord and asking him, what does he want you to do with it? Because I'm guessing he doesn't want you to stay in either one, however you define it. Uh,
Well, and I think I love that you brought that up because, you can sometimes here's another like hot tip, give yourself a timeline. So if you are feeling a little bit indifferent and you're feeling a little bit of resentment, give yourself 5-10 minutes a day because it's important that you feel. So
mhm,
we're not telling you that you can't feel.
right.
Sometimes you're going to feel resentful, right? But
Mhm,
God want you to live in that space. It will just keep you small, scared, and afraid.
mhm,
And so we just want to encourage you that you don't have to stay there. If you're in that state, kudos, congratulations, you're acknowledging that.
yes.
That's big because most people, when they're in that space, don't even know that they're there. They don't see a caution or a warning light, but it can prevent you from fully growing and walking in core strength.
Yeah. Really great point. And when you define it, right, then you can think about why is it there? Why is that emotion there? And what do I want to do with it?
Because it's there. And we don't want to, we're here, get in touch with your emotions. We want you to feel because not feeling is weak.
Mhm,
It can be, right? And that can cause indifference. And, we don't want to be in our reaction to be abusive backwards or back, right? We can learn to respond in such a way that brings glory to God and growth to us.
mhm,
Man, if that's, one thing that we can do that, but it takes work. So we have to do our own work. We get to do our own work. And that's part of what this group coaching is all about, right? So leslievernick.com/group coaching. And we can walk with you. We can help you to do that. We've got 6 coaches on our team. We've got a lot of groups coming up, and we're excited to walk with you. We want 2022 to be your best year yet, where we shake off resentment because you've been hurt. We
mhm.
get it. And, some of our resentment is justifiable in some ways, right? Because I mean, we're just keeping it real here. We stand with you and we say, that stinks. It's awful. It's awful. one thing I know about you is if you're here in this space, you want to grow healthier. And we want to help you to do that. And we want you to help us to do that. We're all in this together. We're all in this together growing.
Mhm.
So, if you're in a state, you said how to know if you're in that state. Again, um, get clear on what those states look like, and then look and see if the choices that you are currently making are enabling or allowing you to stay in that state, or if they're moving you beyond that boundary of that state
Mhm.
into something different. We talked about some of the opposites, Susan. We were talking at the beginning. And so if you're
Mhm.
not indifferent, then you are loving. If you are not resentful, then you are empathic.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
on that, here's another question. Can indifference be an armor we put on to stop being hurt by the actions of others? Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to break that question apart a little bit. What do you think, Susan?
Oh, yes, absolutely. This is what we've been talking about, right?
Yeah.
Is becoming reactive, protective of yourself, and it makes sense why that's happening, right? But it's sometimes not the healthiest for us.
Right. And then there's healthy armor. So there's unhealthy armor and there's healthy armor. And in our group coaching program, we're going to be talking about healthy armor,
Mhm.
how to gird and make ready. Because, boy, I'll tell you what, sometimes we can get, well, like when you're driving down the road and you could get sideswiped, you don't even see it coming because a car can come and just, that's what can happen in relationships is you can get sideswiped and you're not even going to see it coming. Some of the women in our community are in chronic abusive situations, destructive. Some of you within the sound of our voice are in real difficult or discouraging or disappointing relationships. Can walking in core strength help you with that? Absolutely. Because as you get sideswiped, you have a choice whether or not you're going to shake a fist or do something else. We can help you with that. Love that.
Mhm.
And then it goes on to say, I think I was indifferent to the pain of others, my friends, my work colleagues, that they felt around me because I had a tough stance toward what was happening in my own life. Sister, thank you for sharing that. I bet you speak for many of us. And this is something that we just want to acknowledge that when stuff is hard at home, stuff is hard everywhere.
Mm. Mhm.
It is. And it will ooze out of you. It will ooze out of you in some way, understandably so. And so, what do you want to ooze out? Do you want your life to be a fragrance that is pleasing, to the Lord, that is a lovely aroma, or we could get pretty stinky. And, I'm like, okay, I went and played pickleball this morning. I came home, took my shower. Nobody is in this space with me. I'm not sitting knee to knee with anybody, right? But I put my deodorant on. I did. I put my deodorant on before I got on the live because I don't want to be stinky. And so we get to be very aware of what's coming out of us, right, Susan?
Mhm.
And so good stuff going in equals much healthier stuff going out. And perhaps group coaching might be your next best step.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like, some pain and perhaps even some trauma has happened where you're shielding yourself from other people who may even be healthy people, right? Maybe
Mm.
there's a fear in there to even let anyone in, and so it's important to learn to discern who's healthy and who is not, and to begin to trust yourself that you can make those wise decisions and that you know what to look for, and to begin to let that indifference dissolve away for those people in your life who are going to be healthy and supportive and loving towards you. And in these groups, you can practice those skills, right? We begin to share and to love on each other and support each other in our growth so that you can carry that outside into your daily life to people around you, your friends, your work colleagues, to be able to practice some of those skills of loving on them and being your best self, even though you have been hurt.
Right. Because the trauma is real. And,
Mm,
indifference in relationships is abuse.
yes.
Indifference in marriage is abuse. And so, yes, the answer to our question of going live today, and it is traumatic, and the trauma is real, and it hurts. And, one thing that I do love so much about our community, about our group coaching programs, is we do practice, we role play,
Mm,
we step into this. There's nothing new under the sun, right, Susan? We were talking before we went live about back in biblical days, there was indifference.
mm,
We experience it in 2022. And with COVID, we have seen things escalate. And we know life is so hard for so many right now. And that's why we're here. We love and we care about where you are and what you're experiencing. And we want to walk with you
mm,
into strength and dignity. We want to walk with you into your core strength that God has given you, He has created within you. And sometimes we need those other people in our lives to practice, to help point it out because we're not going to see it, to reignite our passion, to actually do the work again.
mhm,
Because we've been working really hard, Susan, in our relationships for a really long time. And we're tired, and sometimes we are indifferent. Sometimes we are unhealthy in our disconnect. And we want to help you come back into that space.
mhm.
We want to help you feel fully alive again.
Yes, rather than loneliness, right? Because that can be painful too.
Well, yeah, she's saying, this feels like I'm shutting others out and it's lonely. And so, I'm so grateful that you acknowledge that. And so then what is one thing that you can do so you won't feel so lonely? And sometimes again, it's getting in touch with our bodies, right? Splashing cold water on your face,
Mhm,
stepping out into the cold. Here's another taking ice cubes, putting them on your wrist, on your temples to wake up your body and your brain. There are some things that we can do when we know we want to be back in touch
mhm,
with ourselves and the world around us and getting in touch with God again. And I don't know, I'm feeling really led to say this. Sometimes our indifference and our disconnect can be directed toward God because we're not seeing Him answer our prayers.
mm,
We just don't feel seen or heard or felt by God either, Susan. And I just feel like maybe that just needs a little hug right now.
mhm. Yeah. And I would encourage you not to be indifferent toward yourself. So what you've expressed is there's some past pain there, and that you're lonely. Pay attention to that, right? You are important, and get yourself strong, get yourself well, so that you can go on and have a good life without shutting everyone out.
Right? Because the ripple effect of that can go on to the shoreline. And so perhaps now is the time to stop that and get into community with others who have that same desire and that same goal. And we can hold each other up because sometimes our arms are weary and tired.
Mm,
And our group coaching program might just be the perfect thing for you.
mhm.
So, do you have any other questions, ladies? Are you seeing any other questions? Oh my gosh, there's a
Yeah,
bunch.
yeah,
I
I
just
have another one here.
page. I just love this community so much, Susan,
Mhm.
that we have so many brave women that want to ask questions. And, iron sharpens iron. And I'm so grateful to be here with you, Coach Susan, as we get to do this together in community for our community. I appreciate you.
Yes, and I appreciate being here with you. Um, well, here's a good one for us. Does admitting the truth mean I'm giving up? So when we're talking about core strength, one of the things that we're teaching is being committed to truth, right?
Yes.
So it may initially feel like you're giving up a hold on some untruth that you've been believing, but we can't really move forward until we acknowledge what is.
Right. I love that you brought that up because we can't move forward unless we know where we are.
Hmm.
And so by admitting the truth is saying where you are right now. And that takes courage. It takes tenacity and strength. And so it's not giving up. That is oftentimes the very first step to moving forward.
Mhm.
Yeah.
She says, I know I need to work on myself, but I feel really nervous to be in a group setting. Do you think I just need to get over my fear of sharing in a group?
Oh.
I don't know that you're going to get over your fear, but I think putting on your brave and stepping into that fear is going to help that fear dissipate. You know, all of our groups are led by coaches, right? And so they are there to keep you safe in the group, but they're filled up with loving women, right? And we do have group rules, some values that everyone tries to uphold so that everyone feels safe, they feel heard, they feel acknowledged. So I understand you may feel nervous to be in the group setting, but step into that fear. And I
Mm.
think that's how it's gonna dissipate is putting your brave on and showing up scared, showing up nervous, allowing the discomfort. There's gonna be a lot of uncomfortable moments, but being uncomfortable is not a bad thing, right? We need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable when we're looking at growth.
Absolutely, because we're gonna be stretched.
Mhm,
And, I think that you can face fear, or there's a couple different ways you can approach fear. And if you've been around at all very long, you've heard me talk about my 2 different acronyms for fear, right? You can face everything and rise, or you can forget everything and run.
mhm,
And the choice is yours. And I think when we lean into our fear, that's when we find strength. And there's gonna be other women in your group who are gonna be shaken in their boots too.
mhm,
You're not alone in that. It's very vulnerable and it's risky when we share. One thing that I know is that it's always valuable to face your fear. And there's the risk of not facing that fear is dangerous because it could lead you down a path you don't want to go.
mhm.
And so just imagine if you were embracing your fear, what you would be experiencing this summer after being in a group with like minded women for 3 months, learning to face your fears. Because if you can face your fear in a group with safe women, imagine the practice that you will get when it comes to taking this outside of the group and navigating the relationships with more ease and confidence than you've ever had before
Mhm.
because you were able to practice it in a safe space. So, all right, here's another question. After 15 years of an indifferent marriage, I feel like I have PTSD.
Mhm.
Will this group help? Or when should I seek a personal therapist instead of doing a group? Great question.
Yes. Um, so you feel like you have PTSD. I would be curious about what symptoms you're experiencing so that we could really assess for whether you need counseling or coaching. Um, so I think the coaching group will definitely help you in moving forward to um, develop that strength to live the life that you want to live, to heal from an indifferent relationship and gain other relationships that are healthy. Um, if you're having some emotional reactivity, you may need counseling as well. Um, a lot of our women do them simultaneously because they are different. And so I think it wouldn't hurt to have a psychological assessment to see if counseling is right for you. But even so, I think the coaching group will help you in moving forward to become stronger and healthier. You think?
Absolutely. Oh, I totally agree, 100%. Oftentimes they can be done in tandem.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I just want to preface it to say our groups are not counseling groups. They are coaching groups, and there is a difference there. And so, thank you, Susan, for bringing that up. Do whatever you need to do to take care of you. That's gonna be super important. All right. What does healthy detachment look like? My husband blames me if I pull away.
Well, just because he blames you doesn't mean you're not doing it well, right? So, just like people don't like boundaries, people don't like detachment, but if it's necessary because you're in a toxic relationship, because you're in a destructive relationship, detaching could be life-saving for you. It could be the difference between you living well or you not being safe, right? And so the detachment is for you. It's not for your husband. And I would assume that he wouldn't like it because he's getting less of you than he wants. But if he was able to see you and value you, this would be a reciprocal relationship and you wouldn't be detaching, right? And so, certainly, you might have, if you haven't already, have a discussion with him about why you're distant and why the relationship has changed and see if he has any interest in healing what's damaged.
Susan, I love that. Learning to invite others into a healing journey.
Mm,
And so to get the courage to do stuff like that, I know that iron sharpens iron and we do it better together. And sometimes we don't know what to do.
mhm,
And so for us to be able to see whether or not we're healthy detaching or not, sometimes we need another set of eyes or 15 sets of eyes on our situation and to get that wise counsel in moving forward because sometimes we don't see it. And if he is blaming you, that's often just a mirror being held up to him. So
mhm,
how he's treating you says more about him than it does about you.
mhm. I had a thought going back to that chronic indifference, right? So just to bring out
Mm,
that, a partner, a marriage partner is not going to always meet all of our needs,
that's right.
right? And so when we're thinking about chronic indifference, is this a pattern in most of the areas of the marriage, right? Where this person is continually not caring about your needs, right? Not that there is one area that they don't meet some of your needs, right? But this is a chronic problem overall. So I think that's important to bring out because if you're just detaching because some of your needs are not being met, of course, even a healthy relationship, that's going to be upsetting. So, really, to be able to distinguish, is it chronic indifference? Is it a real toxic relationship where they have no willingness, no desire, no responsibility in growing and changing? Some people have a hard time being attached in marriage, right? And so they can show up in ways like fixing appliances, earning money, paying bills could be easy, but emotionally connecting might be really challenging. Some people had a hard time in their family of origin learning these skills. And so just because you're seeing that they are not connecting emotionally doesn't mean that they are not open to changing. And that's why I bring up having that conversation. If you haven't already had a conversation, it's always wise to do that so that you can, like you said, Leanne, invite them in to change and to grow.
Right. I love that you brought that up. Marriage is the one relationship that we promise.
Mm,
We absolutely make public promises not to be indifferent. And
yes.
so the chronic space, and that's where it's really important that we look at this repeated pattern, and, if they're paying the bills, if they're doing many other things, helping to take care of the kids, doing the dishes, engaged in co-parenting, all of those beautiful things. Maybe the attachment issue emotionally is hard for them,
Mhm,
but we can, or it's hard for us, we can invite in some tools in order to help us walk this out. So, all right. How are we doing?
how are you on time, Leanne? We're at 1 o'clock here.
Oh my goodness. Wow. We are at the top of the hour and we have a lot of gals with us. And okay, what word is on your wrist today, Leanne? Oh, that's funny. Okay, so I just erased it. I had worthy here, but I want to show you. I transferred it. So I'm going to show my girls. So here we go. Are you ready? All right, I'm going to I have all, oh, there we go. I have all my bracelets on today. Oh, you can't see them, but I
I
can read
can't
them
see the
to you.
words. Read the words for us.
I have worthy. I have here to empower. I have stronger together. And then I have this one, choosing faith over fear. That's what's on my wrist today, girls. Thank you for asking. You're so sweet. Y'all know that I'm such an I need my metaphors and I need my concrete reminders. And maybe you're like me and you need something front of mind for you on a regular basis. Walking in Core Strength, that group coaching program, you're going to have curriculum that is going to be available to you until you don't want it anymore. All of our coaching sessions are recorded. You're going to be able to go back and rewatch them. It's like writing it on your wrist because you can do it in the middle of the night all day long. You will have handouts to work through. You will have a coach to graciously and lovingly walk you through this curriculum that Leslie created. You're going to get professional coaching. You're going to get love and tenderness that perhaps you have never experienced before. And you're going to be together with 15 women who want to do the same, to embrace faith over fear and acknowledge the fact that we're stronger together. We were created for relationship. Actually, let me back that up. We were created by relationship, in relationship, for relationship. And part of developing our core strength allows us to show up in relationship fully engaged, conscious, present, and loving. And it doesn't always mean nice. It means self-aware and engaged. So there's thank you for asking.
Yes, I love it. And so all week there's going to be lives. I think there's another one tomorrow night, 7:30.
There is. Yeah, Martha, if you could
I'm not sure the topic for tomorrow. I don't recall, but I know there's one coming tomorrow at 7:30. And you and I will be live again on Thursday, Leanne.
Yes, we will. I'm so excited. We're going to be talking about core strength. We're going to dive deep, aren't we, Susan? You and I are going to dive deep into what core strength is all about. And so we're going to be talking about that. And so we hope to see many of you then. And would walking in core strength help me heal after divorce? I don't want to repeat my bad habits. Yes, walking in core strength is all about your growth and where you want to see yourself. So I want to just put this out there, and then we're going to have to probably wrap up, right, Susan? Because I bet you have a full day as well as me.
Yes.
But here's the deal. What was I going to say about this? You don't want to repeat your bad habits, or will it help you? I just lost my train of thought. If you always do what you've always done, you will always be where you always are right now. And this is my big question. Imagine that you are waking up tomorrow and your bad habits are gone. Imagine that God has helped you replace your bad habits with healthy habits. And even that you've let go of some judgment and you're being more curious about yourself and the world around you. What is one key point that you can point to that got you to that space? So imagine, is it a group coaching program? If this sounds like it's for you, we invite you to go to www.leslievernick.com/group coaching. If that's a step that you feel is in your journey towards shaking off those bad habits. Habits can be relearned. Habits were learned, they can be relearned, and new healthy habits can be brought in. But it takes intentionality, it takes practice, and I believe it takes community in order to do it, to have it be sustainable and not just something you do for a little bit. What about you, Susan? Any closing thoughts?
Yes. So this group is not just for women in destructive relationships. It's for women who want to be stronger, right? Whether you're married, we're married, about to get married, thinking about getting married. If you want to be stronger and learn how to live in your core strength, the group is for you.
Indeed. And we also get questions, am I too old for this group? Am I too young for this group? Can I just tell you, our community in our group coaching programs, we've got gals in their 20s and gals in their 80s.
Yes.
We do. Every season of life has its own unique challenges, and we have an opportunity to grow our core strength no matter what season of life that we're in.
Yes.
All right. Beautiful.
And yes, someone's asking about replays. So these will be on Leslie's Facebook page, so you can go rewatch if you've missed one. So there's a lot in her history that are really valuable. There's a lot coming up this week. So if you can't join live, yes, please go rewatch.
Please do. And is the group free of charge? It is not free of charge. There is a cost. There's payment plans. We have some amazing opportunities. So we just encourage you, go check out the link right down below here. Go check that out and see what options might be best for you. The coaching groups are going to be offered at various times during the day, as well as various days of the week. So see if there's one that might really meet your schedule well. And we hope to see you in one of our groups. Susan, I'm looking forward to seeing you on Thursday.
Yes.
And yeah, I believe we have a couple more before then. So ladies, we invite you to join us. Thank you, Susan, so much for
Thank you.
coming here. This is a big topic today. It was a big topic today. Thank you for tenderly holding space with me for our community. It's always a delight to work with you.
Yeah, it's been great to be here. Thank you for joining us, everyone, and we'll see you soon.